We're talking to Ms. Greenlee and Mr. Jordan, and the topic is the organization that Mr. Jordan is the founder and CEO, Partners in the Struggle. And of course, Mr. Jordan, I think we promised that we'd give you an opportunity not only to talk about the organization, Partners in the Struggle, but to talk about some of your experiences dealing with this particular organization and what you would like to see happen in terms of making you more effective in doing what you're doing.
Well, first of all, as far as making the organization effective, I think the families whose loved ones have been murdered, they must come out and be active. They must be proactive, they must be vigilant, and they must be steady in keeping the memory alive of their loved ones who've been murdered. And the reason why I say that is you have a lot of families who right now who've been affected by murder within the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
Denise Brown, Mr. Ping at Tennessee State University, his family, and Natalie Madison, who was murdered in Lytton Apartments. These are families whose loved ones have been murdered. And now it's time to get out and act on what can we do to stop this murder, the murders, and the gun violence that is so senselessly struck in these families. I think one of the most serious situations that hit me was, when Denise Brown was murdered, 15 years old, was in the prime of her life, and her life was snuffed out. The young man who committed this act, was a young African-American male. And you have two sides of the family who are going to be devastated by the murder, the perpetrator, and the family, which is Denise, who is no longer here. We must unite together and to stop this thing. And it's going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us.
And of course, Ms. Greenlee, you came out and then became a part of the organization Partners in the Struggle as a result of Mr. Jordan. Why don't you talk about how you became involved in this organization?
Well, early on, I was saying, I've kind of noticed early on in the early 70s all the violence was going on. It wasn't as serious as it is in the early 2000s. But recently, it had been coming so potent with me, these killings. And every morning I had, back in the early 2001, I really started noticing how the killings were just getting rapid, and it was my young black kids. All of them out there are really my kids. And I used to wonder, and I used to tell my mom, man, I'm getting where in the morning at 5 o'clock, I don't even want to turn the news on to see what the weather gonna be like, so I know how to dress. That's the reason I would turn the news on, not knowing every time I turn the news on, I'm gonna see some young man there that's laying out in the street with a tennis shoe over here because they had their brain shot out. And I used to wonder, I have a son that was really struggling out there with the crime, the drugs, and the fast money lifestyle, and I was trying to let him know about, you live that lifestyle, you're gonna die that lifestyle. Never knowing that one day I turn the TV on and see would it be my son. But fortunately, December 8th, 2003, I didn't get to turn the TV on that morning at 5 o'clock like I always do. I was awakened out of my sleep from a phone call from my uncle telling me that the son that I didn't want to see on the news was rushed to Vanderbilt Hospital with a gunshot wound to his head, well, to his neck. And that right there itself, it was 2 o'clock, so I had 3 more hours to turn the 5 o'clock news on, and that would have been my devastating moment of my time to click that remote. From that day on, that's where I became partners in the Partners of the Struggle, simply because Brother Earl, he saw that on there, and he said so clear that 12 days before that, he saw me on TV feeding the